Okay, so it is the 26th of November, and we are running a bit behind schedule, but I thought I'd give you guys a bit of an update on how things are going. At the moment, I'm sort of waiting on two things. One is a shipment from Electric Classic Cars, because the battery connectors, main battery connectors that we got, they are for 50 millimeter squared cable, but we have the 70 millimeter squared cable, and then also the charger is just slightly the wrong version. And then the other thing I'm waiting on is an order from Mauser, and one especially important part in that order is the connectors, also battery connectors, but for the full pack positive from the rear battery to the front battery. And before I get these components, I cannot really finish these boxes, and that's why it's so important for me to get those components, because once these boxes are done, I can put them in, and from there it should be sort of easy. In the previous video, you probably saw I did the painting of the, let's call it the frunk of the Beetle, and also the engine compartment here at the back. Looks quite nice, if I can say so myself. So next up, I can at least start with the battery boxes, and the first thing to do is to drill some holes for the cooling hoses. And this is actually something I didn't really get to in the battery box videos, the whole cooling system. So if you look at the Tesla battery modules, you can actually see they have two cooling channels, one there, one there. And each of these channels has one input, one output, and they need to be connected to hoses. But what they usually do with these type of retrofits is they have two manifolds on the inside of the battery boxes, and then just two hoses coming out of the battery box. What we're going to do is, because we're so constrained with space, especially at the front, is we're going to have hoses, 8 hoses, running directly out of the battery box, and 12 hoses from the rear battery box. And we have an additional challenge here at the front battery box, which is, if you look here where the box will sit, we're running a bit out of space right here at the front of the battery box, and that's where these two connectors should have been, so we're just moving them further this way before they come out right there, and for the bottom one it's going all the way over here, then coming out. These fittings also need to be welded on top of the front battery box for the charger to attach to, which will sit right here on top of the front battery box, and then also some fittings that need to be welded here for the DC to DC converter to attach to. And once all of that is done, we can probably paint the battery boxes. And that's about it for the battery boxes. Next, I'll go around the workshop and just show you some random stuff. We'll start with the conduit. So this thicker one you see here, that will go through the heater channels, and then the high voltage cable will go through the conduit just to give it some extra protection. Then the bolts for the motor that will attach the motor to the gearbox. I'm struggling to find this nice tapered one in the correct length, because the longer ones, they have these very sharp edges, and you can actually see they are tapered, so I'm not sure if this sharp edge will work. All of this basically need to go back in the vehicle. It was removed for the painting process, the windshield wiper motor, some switches need to be added, these need to be put back, radio needs to be put back. Yeah, then a few things here at the front. So I think I'm going to put that box basically right there, and in that box is going to be a bunch of fuses, battery management system, the relays, and then a microcontroller that will obviously control the display as well, or at least give some data to the display. That needs to be painted as well as that, so that it looks neat. The brake reservoir can be put back in its place. I cleaned it a bit, looks nice, and I also bought a new hose for it because the old one started to crumble. And then this is actually where the low voltage battery is going to fit, and I checked everything works nicely, even with the spare tire here at the front, and then also the battery box, everything fits. And I just need to make a sort of a bracket for the low voltage battery. Here you can see a bunch of hoses that I bought for all the different components, which have different hose sizes, and also the hose fittings that actually arrived just this morning. Very difficult to find this kind of stuff, but found it, and it looks as if it's going to work just perfectly with the 12mm hose running, and then all the hoses that go directly to the channels with the 6mm, I think, hose. And I also found some orange cable for the full pack positive, as well as for the cabling inside the battery boxes. It is braided, but it is orange, so I think it will work. Then, if we have a look inside, I actually found a coolant expansion tank. I think it's from a Reynolds, that will work perfectly right there. Just need to weld a piece on here that will allow the tank to attach to. And finally, some cooling components. The fan will fit onto the radiator, and then you also see the pump that will ensure enough flow through the whole system. The radiator is obviously not going to fit where it is now because the motor is going to be there, but the radiator will sit at an angle a bit further up. And then you can actually see the bolts which attaches to the rear battery, and they are some very important bolts, because in case of an accident from the front, these bolts are going to prevent the rear battery plummeting through the whole interior. And that's why there's actually a thick steel tube that's also attaching here. Well, the bolts go through the steel tubing first, actually, but I was just testing to see that everything aligns, because it is quite difficult to align everything. And that is basically it. Wish me luck, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.